is a job I did 40 months ago, a little over 3 years ago. I did this bathroom. What this used to be, I'm going to show you a little bit of that right now.
Era. These type of tile are also very typical from that era. And then of course in the shower, this is just normal size 5-foot shower, 5x32. This tile we're not really seeing anymore, this type of color anyway.
So as you can see, this was a very old style from the 1970s, I think the late 70s. There was a cabinet, a linen cabinet over here. There was a very small vanity, and there was a toilet, and there was a cast iron tub, and there was builder's grade tile both on the tub area and the floor. In fact, the floor tile, I think on that video I show where the floor tile didn't even have backer board below it. The tile was really easy to come off of the floor. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think there were little pieces of construction adhesive. That's the only thing that held the floor tile on. Anyway, going back over 3 years ago, this bathroom looks like it was done last week. Some of it has to do with homeowner care. Oftentimes when I leave a shower that I've done or leave a bathroom that I've done, a lot of the maintenance is contingent on obviously on the homeowner, and they have done very well keeping this up. And I do remember this job. It turned out very nice. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, because this is a bathtub, I believe the spout and everything was on that side, and I had moved it up under the floor onto that side. Because he wanted to be able to come into the shower, turn the water on without getting wet, because the shower head's over there, and I think that's a great idea. Not a lot of people will do that because it looks kind of weird. We're not used to the separation, but yeah. And I do recall having done that niche because it kind of tied into the border area, and so I just made it pop a little bit with the same rope that we used here and the same darker medallions which I centered inside of the niche. So yeah, looks great 3 years later. Another thing I want to point out, and I mention this in a lot of my videos, I almost never ever take my tile all the way up to the drain cap, so it rises above it. In this case, probably about 1/8 of an inch, a little higher, and then I taper off every individual piece of tile so that there's water, positive water flow that goes down into the drain. I'm bringing in leaves, but yeah, looks very nice. As I said, it looks like it was done last week or last month, and that's not why I'm here. I just thought I'd show it off because it's always nice to see your work afterward and see how well everything held up. But specifically why I'm here, he has called me back to do his laundry room floor. And the reason I'm doing this video, there used to be a shower pan. So much of my work has to do with pans. There used to be a tray, a pan, an overflow pan if you will, that goes into that pipe there, just like your condensation line for your AC. And that line eventually travels out to the side of the house, so that if anything ever happens with your washing machine, there's an overflow, it will catch into that pan and then naturally want to flow out that pipe, although I guess that's yet to be seen. It's a safety mechanism, just same as your water heater, having that pan, that overflow pan. I can't recall a washer machine in my lifetime ever overflowing to the point where a pan was needed, and I don't recall too many pans in a washer area. But he doesn't want a pan in there specifically because the washer is going to be over onto this side instead of that side, so it's kind of a mismatch of things. But he also didn't want a pan because the washer and dryer are really nice washer and dryers that are going in here, the most modern type, and the pan would kind of degrade. Also, it has a drawer underneath, and it would preclude the drawer from opening up. So anyway, what we're going to do here, and it was his idea, not mine, what I have come up with or by his direction, what I would come up with is a drain system, same in line with a shower drain system that's going to go instead of this pan. So you're asking yourself, I'm sure, how is this ever going to work if you don't have a slope? And there's not going to be one. So again, on an emergency basis where your washer has overflowed, I think the least of your concern is whether or not your pan is working or not, because obviously you're going to be on point. It's not like a water heater where you're leaving it alone, so you're actually using the washing machine. So his idea was to have a drain in the center. It's going to be on the center floor over here, and I think he's even asked me to do 2 drains. So there may in fact be 2 drains going on here, depending on this floor joist, because I can see it clearly between the plywood there. So this is a basic shower drain that's usually used for fiberglass, what I call a fake shower pan. Oops. And it's got the 2 gaskets, one for the top and one for the bottom, and then you just turn this down. So I have some playroom here, not a whole lot. I think there's probably about 1 inch, and this is probably 3/4 ply, plus my tile on my thin set. So it's going to be kind of tenuous whether or not this actually works. This is where the washer would normally have gone, and the problem is it's not going to work there. So the washer inevitably is going to be on this side. So he wants me to put a drain on this side as well as over here, because when he moves out, if somebody has a conventional type of washer, then they're still going to need some type of drain system. And so in that case, he's gone. There's still a drain where he was, but they're going to need a secondary one. And so that's it. I got a little ahead of myself and did not show the process, which I normally do for any DIYers, homeowners, or even a contractor who's a little befuddled by doing something like. Not that you ever would. I mean, I've never had a drain in a laundry room before. So anyway, this is a drain that I picked. It's an Odie drain. It is one of those no weep hole type drains, and I backed off with the other one that I had with the flanges. I think this one will work better because it's meant to sit on top of this recess, and I've got a hub in there. In fact, that's the process right there. I got a 3/4 line to a 3/4 hub for a 2-inch opening. Is that a 2-inch? It's a 3-inch drain over a 2-inch schedule 40. Okay. So yeah, 2-inch. And it just fits right over there. So there'll be 2 of those. I'll glue it in to the point where I can get it level. And there's a little bit of play in it. By the time the glue is in there, it'll be fine. Actually, the only issue that I'm having is anchoring. A little bit at a loss on the anchoring part, but I'm going to figure that out as I go along. Anyway, so what I've done is I cut off where you saw it over there. I cut that off and brought all that pipe backward. And as a homeowner already attested to, and I don't know how he knew, but there's a 3/4 line that runs literally right up under the floor, so I'm kind of relegated to exactly where I can put it depth-wise. And I have a flashlight because I did get ahead of myself, so I don't know. But anyway, the point being is that there's a T in there. I think you can see the T. There it is. So that T comes straight up, and then it continues on out of the house. And that's where that T is located there. And I just brought the line over and put a 90 on it and brought it up. So the next process, which as I said I got ahead of myself, I already screwed this down to the floor, the scab piece, and then this piece I'll go over. It's tongue and groove plywood, just like so, and I will screw that down. Then I'm going to run backer board on top of this quarter inch Durock is going to go on this entire thing, and then I can start tiling. I put expanded foam where that pipe was, and I'm going to cut that off with a Dremel And then I'm going to fill in the excess, the gap over there with some thin set before I put the backer board down, so everything will be kind of contiguous here. And that's basically it. The tile that I'm going with is a 12 by 12 tile, and my biggest fear and my biggest hope simultaneously is that my 12-inch tile does not fall in the center, which it looks like it won't, because they're going to be a little less than, yeah, I don't want to have to drill a 3-inch hole in the center of my tile. So anyway, hopefully everything works out. I will keep you updated as I move along. Alright, a brief update. The backer board is all set. Holes are cut out for the drains, and the drains are ready to glue in, drain caps as it were. The conundrum here, that the back wall, my level is horrible, the back wall is slightly off going in that direction. So what I did intentionally, this is 1/4 inch backer board by the way, so there's 2 pieces of 1/4 inch backer board here with tapered thin set coming down this direction, so that this slope is slightly off going that way. So now the 2 floor sides come together somewhere in the middle. The tile will set slightly sloped going that direction, slightly sloped going that direction, and with any luck this will be like a trough, for lack of a better term. In fact, it would have been better to have a trough type drain, lineal drain in here. But anyway, my transition strip is level. Actually, it's 2 strips, so I have them set together with a very, very thin line that will end up getting grouted, and it will appear as if it's one. The tile will rest up against there kind of flat, so that there'll still be, I don't know, about 1/4 inch up here. If the water ever does get in here, it's got 1/4 inch play as it's draining. That's kind of what he wanted, and I just kind of made it work out the best way that I could, rather than have it sit up high and not have the slope going on at all, because otherwise this floor would have sloped that way, and this wouldn't have done much good. Now it will. So I'm going to glue my drains. This is going to sit up to dry until tomorrow, and then I shall tile it. Oh, by the way, one last thing in case you were curious how I ended up anchoring these drains. They have some play in them, both of them do a little bit. So I ran some silicone up around the bottom part of the flange, and I don't know, probably 1/2 inch worth of silicone. Pushed it down, wiped off the excess silicone, and now I have weights by virtue of the tile setting out overnight. So that is my anchoring system. It is the next day, and the shower drains are anchored as I thought they would be, with the abundance of caulking that's below there, and I cut off the excess of the side, so good for me. And there's not a lot of pressure on that pipe, so there'll never be an issue of it popping back up. It's just, remember, the 3/4 line. But I ran into another little issue, as they say in England. The issue that I'm having is, this is not a centered opening, because you have this little cutout over here that's about 12-13 inches deep into the laundry room. So where I fashioned these 2 transition strips together is dead center of the doors, but it's not dead center of the opening. Anyway, long story short, you see my center mark that I made right there, because my customer pulled a fast one on me today and asked me to do it on a diagonal, which I hadn't planned on doing at all. The problem is, when I use that center mark right there in the middle and put my first tile there, which is how you should basically, if you're going to do a diagonal, it doesn't matter how big your floor is, you find the center mark of your bathroom or living room or whatever it is, and that's where that's your keystone tile. Everything else follows. That's the way I do it anyway. Everybody has their own preference of how they make it happen. But that's complete dead center of my laundry room proper, not the opening. When I did that and I put one in the center, then I'm going to have a cut somewhere in the middle of my tile, not necessarily in the middle, but there'll be a 3-inch cut, which is very, very difficult to do, especially on a cheap ceramic like I'm dealing with. I can do a back cut, I can do a lot of different ways. Even a grinder wouldn't work because this is so weak it would break 5 or 6 or 8 tile before you ever got a perfect cut. So that became an issue. The other idea that I had was if I set it straight, so you see my center line is right there for the opening and my center mark is on the tile right there, and so I just set it straight, and the same issue came up because I'm about here and the next tile would be about somewhere around there, so inevitably I would still have the same conundrum. But the way you see it now was definitely not on purpose, because you see how I have it diagonal now, and I have almost virtually the same cut over there as I do over there, which I never did the math on with the drains, but it just worked out that way. So this tile is not center of the opening. This tile is center of the entirety of the laundry room, which is what I think I'm going to end up doing, because that's going to make life much easier, where I have one corner cut over here and then I'll have to do a 3/4 circle, which is much easier to do on my wet saw than any other option. So he actually gets what he wants and I get what I want. What I wanted is no cut inside of the tile, and what he wanted is a diagonal look. In hindsight, what I probably would have done is found a way where that lip is on the drain to get that flush with my board, because inevitably the way it looks now is that I'm going to be flush with my transition, which I did not want to do, but it's so high up, and that was just poor planning on my part. But it is up about 1/2 inch on that lip of the drain, and I've got about 3/4 of an inch here, but by the time I put all my thin set on is the only way I can become flush with that, and I actually wanted it more at an angle. So yeah, I would have set those down flush, but anyway, it is what it is. It is extremely rare where I will pre-cut, lay out my tile prior to setting it. This is one of those rare occasions, and I'm doing that because of the complications of some of the cuts. Make sure that everything fits nicely around the drains, and now I'm ready to actually do the tile work, meaning laying the tile, and then the grout will be done. And it's done.
I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, then subscribe. Hit that button and subscribe. I make nothing off of YouTube, so please be a Patreon member. I'm going to post a link down below to my Patreon account, and you can donate $1, $5, $10, $20 a month. Just pledge that on a monthly basis. That will help me produce more videos and content so that you can watch and learn from my channel. And donate at least $50 if you're going to call. If you're going to call for advice, donate to my PayPal, please. Donate first, and then feel free to call me or email me for advice. Otherwise, business calls only, please.